married or in a committed relationship? Looking for real advice on having love and enriching your relationship? You are in the right place. Welcome to the Couples Expert with Stuart Fensterheim.
Hi there, and welcome to the Couples Expert Podcast. This is Stuart Fensterheim, the Couples Expert. I meet people all the time on the internet, whether it's in social media or communicating with people on Twitter. And one of the things that I often do is throw out a post that says, I'm looking for guests. I am so thrilled that this next guest responded to that because her specialty is something that I've been wanting to get more information about. And Sanya is a counselor in New Jersey. And it's so wonderful how we can meet people all over the United States and really all over the world now with technology and Skype and social media. It's really the good part of social media is us learning about other people, about what they do, their specialties, the kind of work that they do, their family, and you become just these really connected relationships with people that you would never meet any other way. But Sanya really began to talk about discernment counseling, and what discernment counseling really is about helping couples who are really on the brink of divorce to come in and have a structured way of making a decision about whether or not to work on this relationship. When you work with couples in this place, there is more pain than anything. And to help them to be able to really identify what they need from their partner, what they need from their marriage, from the relationship, and then to be able to really spell it out and help each person be able to really understand this. And it just clarifies things, clarifies whether or not they really want to pursue ongoing therapy and working on that relationship. Some of the questions I have about that have to do with how do you change people's experiences, because when they come in, they're already in so much pain. And I'm going to ask Sanya some of that. But I'm just so thrilled to have her. And what I've learned about Sanya is that she is a specialist in really helping people to go through this time. And as I said earlier, what Sanya really does is she helps couples heal from this trauma, which could have to do with infidelity, but the being at the brink of divorce and the heartbreak that comes in with this, and that she has a model of healing that doesn't just put a Band-Aid on it, and that it sounds like she's somewhat of a Gottman therapist, or those that know that I talk a lot about emotionally focused therapy. Gottman is another attachment model therapist that really focuses on a deep recovery and a way to come out of that cycle of pain and to start rebuilding. That if the commitment is there to work on the relationship, that will skyrocket couples into being able to really develop and establish a relationship that is much more healthy than it ever has been before. She's also one of three people in New Jersey that has been able to do this. And she has 3 children. She's been happily married for, I believe it's 20 years. And she just really is someone that I am really thrilled that I've gotten to know. And I want to welcome Sanya, you to the show. Thank you so much for giving of yourself and being willing to reach out to me to ask to be a guest on our show. And thank you and welcome to the Couples Expert Podcast.
Thank you, Stuart. I'm very pleased to be here. It's my honor.
I mentioned in my introduction of you that how we met was online through my request for a guest. And I just, you and I were talking a little bit about technology and the joys of being able to now, through the internet, to meet people all over the world. And I just really want to thank you for taking time out to come and share some of your expertise with my listeners, because we've been talking a lot over the last few weeks
regarding love and connections and relationships. And, I get questions a lot about, but sometimes it just doesn't feel like it's going to work. And then when you reached out right around that time, I was having a number of dialogues with a number of clients, and then reached out and said that your expertise was in discernment counseling. I was fascinated. So before we begin, though, and I do want you to define what exactly that means so everyone understands, tell me a little bit about you and a little bit about what prompted you to get into this field of love and relationships. There's a number of us out there that are just, hitting the ground, really sharing some of the latest research and what we now know about how to establish that kind of relationship where you feel secure. What prompted you to get involved in this crazy kind of field?
So I had very sweet beginnings where what I wanted to do was take couples who have been married or together for a while and lost that loving touch, and to help them rekindle their love, and to teach new couples how to make their union successful, how to work with communication and everything else. But I realized that people are usually coming to me when they're broken, they've hurt each other to such deep degrees that I'm not really getting to do a lot of the preventive work that I was hoping I would get to do, that it's usually remedial. And the way I got into discernment counseling was me sitting across couples who were in such pain and such a deep conflict, and almost like losing hope in my field, that how is it that I'm ineffective here? How is it that I'm not able to help them? And then I looked and I sought this out, got certified in it, and I have been extremely happy and successful practicing this.
But why go into this field? That's really what I was wanting to know. For you personally, what made you decide that working with, and there are so many people out there, and I feel very fortunate that I'm not one of them, that will run as fast as I can away from working with people on terms of love and relationships. They just don't want to even get involved with couples. And you've chosen this as a field for your life. Why? What made you decide that this is a passion of yours?
I just, I tried many other areas of therapy. And as most counselors, I started out doing everything for the fear of, oh my God, if I just choose one field, I'm just not going to be that effective. And what I realized when I was working with all kinds of clients with all kinds of issues is how absolutely effective I was anytime a couple walked in, and how I was able to connect with them and the kinds of progress that I was able to make with them. So I realized also that, instead of reading magazine or some chick lit by the beach, I'm, reading things about couples and counseling and relationships. So being married for 20 years, I was always interested in this, but I guess it was probably my path that was chosen for me, and probably my inclination or my personal attraction to it too.
Was there anything in your life experiences that sort of said to you that this is an area that, a lot of people, myself included, I think, my parents divorced when I was about 7 or 8. And one of the things that I saw was a lot of pain in my family as a result of that. So I really made this commitment because I wanted to really stop that kind of pain for the people. And I'm just curious if there was some experience like that you had that sort of prompted this.
Yeah. So my parents are still married, but when I was thinking of getting married, and I always did want to get married, but I was very afraid, and I always looked around to see whether I could find somebody who would fit my definition of calm and peace and sort of happy, where people are both being themselves, but also being together in a way that increases them as people. And I just was not, unfortunately, just my experience, not able to find it. And I felt that, secretly, without knowing it, I was seeking answers throughout my life. So when I came to grad school, I guess that's why I got attracted to it, because I wanted to do things right in my relationship. And I wanted to understand how two people who pledge love and life to each other can become so cruel and fall apart. I wanted to believe in love more than I did at the time. So that's why I tried to, get as much information as I could.
Yeah, and I think I have the experience, as you probably do, with a lot of friends and family. When
Yes.
you ask people about, do you actually just had this discussion the other day, which was someone in our family is considering getting married. And it seemed just really easy for folks to say things like, well, if it doesn't work, they could just get divorced.
Yeah.
Like it's an option. And we all know it is, but it's really sad that so many people, and then the other flip side of that is people will say to me, there's very few people I know that truly is saying that they're happily married.
Absolutely. That's
They
very
accept
scary.
less than. And I think with all the research we now know and my work as an emotionally focused therapist, clearly we now have a blueprint. We have a blueprint of how to help people really find a true bond, an authentic relationship. And that's really part of why I wanted to bring you on, is because your work with discernment counseling really takes people at a point of absolute despair quite often. And there seems to be an answer. There seems to be a way of taking that and changing the experience. So could you define a little bit what discernment counseling is and a little bit about your approach?
So discernment counseling, as the name says, it's to discern or to decide what path you want to take regarding the future of your marriage, something that suits you as an individual and also your family. One of the things that people really like about it is that it's not therapy, which is so sad because, forever am I trying to hold the flag up for yes, therapy, but that's unfortunately what really attracts people. It's done in a maximum of 5 sessions, which again is something that really appeals to people, because not only because they all hate therapy and whatnot, but people who are coming for things like that are at such a deep kind of end in their relationship. They're extremely frustrated. They've lost hope in almost everything that they've tried. They're very skeptic that anything's going to work. That's not the reason it is 5 sessions. It just is that way. But this is what attracts them. The concept of discernment counseling is that the path that it takes you through allows each person to literally get an itemized list of what each individual's responsibility is in the marriage being where it is, which is close to divorce. And together, the 3 of us understand the dynamics of the relationship that have led the marriage to, again, where it is. And with those 2 factors written down, when a person is making that decision, they're not making an abstract decision. Why don't you just make your marriage work? That's too open. That's too big for people who are ready to jump off the ledge, so to speak, as far as their marriage is concerned. When it comes the time for them to decide whether they want to try, they have a concrete idea of what it is that it'll entail. From me, what can I expect from my partner? What is it that I need to do to make this work? And what is the understanding that I have about the relationship that needs to change?
So what would be some of the questions that you would ask people to really begin to pull apart for themselves of what their needs are? Because that's what I'm hearing you say. What do I need to have this relationship feel differently? And what are the areas that are the major issues?
So one of the reasons, Stuart, this therapy works is I'm sure that being a couples therapist, you've had this, that when people are at such they're so angry with each other, it's very difficult to get to a place when they're sitting next to each other. And the format of the discernment counseling is such that I know that I'm not answering your question directly, but it's a part of the question that first, when they come in as a couple, and I have a tiny check-in with them, which is about, I would say, maybe 20 minutes or so. And then I see each of them for 30 minutes separately, and then we meet again. And some of the questions that I will ask them will be very precise questions. I'm going to ask them, what is it that they feel happened to their marriage that they are here? This is when they're together. I want them to tell me, what is the joy that they found? What joy do they remember having together? I want them to tell me if their hope for getting back together is for the children or is it for them? What role do the children or the family play in it if they have children? And questions like that are the questions that I'll ask them when they're together. But when I see them individually, then I want to ask them what they feel is their responsibility in the marriage being where it is. What is it that they want to see change in their spouse? And what is it that they think their spouse wants to see change in them? Mm-hmm. So I get all of that information, and then together, before we call in the partner, this is the one-on-one meeting, we have a summary that we do together that we're going to present to the partner. And it's very important because just remember that these people are very, very angry with each other. And when they start speaking, they both have points. They both of their stories make sense, and they're feeling what they're feeling. But when they start speaking, it's very easy for them to very quickly to get to a place where they start shutting each other off.
Right, they trigger each other.
Exactly. And then I can't get anywhere. So, which is why it's a very defined sort of process. And when I ask the questions, I know exactly when I need to stop them too. I get the information, I stop them because I'm not in that moment. It's very hard sometimes to be a therapist and to do that because I'm so interested in their story. But I have to keep in mind that when I'm doing discernment counseling, I am just helping the couple decide whether they want to try or not. This is one other thing, Stuart, that I should have clarified is that there are 3 paths that discernment counseling leads you to. And the hope is that at the end of each session, in fact, you don't even commit to the 5 sessions. At the end of each session, you decide whether you're going to have the next session or not. So sometimes discernment counseling is only 1 session or 2 sessions, or sometimes it goes up to 5. But in the end, you have 3 choices. One is to leave things as they are, which usually doesn't work for most people because they're, going through so much. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here in the first place. The second choice is to get a separation or a divorce. And the third choice is to commit to 6 months of therapy and during that time to not bring up divorce or separation at all. If in that moment one of or both of them are having an affair with someone, they have to commit to putting that on the side.
Does that mean ending it?
No, it doesn't mean ending it. It means they have to commit to put it on the side. This is why, you cannot.
No. Let me interrupt you a
Please
moment.
Please do.
What my question is, if they're having an active affair.
Yes.
And they've decided that they are going to take it and make the commitment for the 6 months.
Yes.
Do they have to end their affair? Is that what putting it on the side is? Or is it just not the decision about a divorce is put on a side?
No, not the decision. Yes, the decision about the divorce is definitely put on the side. But they are, by signing that document, they're committing that they're not going to be in that relationship.
So the relationship has to be at end. They cannot be actively involved in any relationship with anyone else.
They cannot be.
Okay.
Now, in the back of their mind, are they thinking that, maybe after 6 months we're going to do it again? That's up to them. So the process it really works. The only thing that we say is that the only thing we need is their motivation.
The motivation, because if they take that third path, the motivation is to take 6 months to work on the relationship to see if it could be better than it is.
Exactly, Stuart. And I know that you do EFT, and I know you, which is very close to Gottman as well. And John Gottman says that and I tell my clients that approximately 70% of all conflicts in a couple are ones that are unresolvable. So, and the difference between a successful couple versus an unsuccessful couple is that the successful couple knows how to navigate themselves through it, how to negotiate that 70%. So I do a screening before I take clients on for discernment counseling, and that screening is to make sure that there isn't any physical abuse going on, and
substance abuse included.
Substance abuse included. So if there's abuse and there's, for example, like an addiction, then we have not that if a person has an addiction and they're working through it, this can still work. But if there's physical abuse, then I don't go for discernment counseling at all. I don't try and save the marriage then.
Right. So what's interesting about what you're saying is because there's a high percentage of people that come in and say, I'm unsure. I'm unsure if I want to work on this. I want to see if it could work. And most couples counselors go right to doing the counseling. You have an additional step here that's pretty fascinating because you take 5 sessions that is not about the marriage, really. It's about deciding about the marriage, or deciding if you want to work on that. What do you recommend to people in how they should make that decision? So you've identified the issues. Let's say, let's just take the one that we see a lot of, which is someone's having an affair or had an affair, found out they had an affair. Now I'm not sure if I want to stay with this person. Will he ever do it again? Can I ever trust him again? Those kinds of things. So now I'm going to sit down with you and with the partner, and we're going to pull apart whether or not I want to just leave and end it, or if I want to stay and work it out. That basically is the premise I'm hearing.
Okay.
Where do you go from there?
The premise that I understand is that there is a couple in which one is having an affair.
Or had an affair.
Who wants to end it? The person who had an affair or the other person?
No, the other one. The one that found out.
And who is the person who wants to stay?
The partner that this was an old affair.
Yeah.
I'm giving something hypothetically, actually. Maybe it's not really fair.
No, it's great.
But basically, what I see a lot of is people, either someone ended an affair and then it got discovered, or someone finally shared that they are having an affair and they are struggling and not sure what to do. They've been unhappy. And the partner who learns about the affair now says, I don't know if I can stay. So, I don't know if I can stay in this marriage.
So this is like one of the perfect couples for me, Stuart, because, the pain is real. The pain of the mistrust is real. It's not possible to have a loving relationship unless you have trust. And how are you, and vulnerability and openness, right? So the beautiful thing about discernment counseling is that, first of all, I have to speak to each person before they come in. So if you're coming in right away, you're committing to at least that bit that, let's see if I can make it work. The difference that I find when I do couples counseling directly versus this is that by the time I get to couples counseling, if I'm going to get to it, these people have already told me whether this is going to work or not, because I can judge their motivation. I can, when I sit on with them one-on-one and I tell them, look, this is your session. This is your time. It's your emotional moment. So tell me, what is it that you really want? Do you want to save it or not? And people start to become very real with me, because to me, I feel that people who come in for discernment counseling, that is as much of an end as somebody going for somewhat of almost like somebody going to a divorce counselor. So when somebody is requesting discernment counseling, that right there is a signal to their spouse that this is real. I mean business. I even have couples, Stuart, who have just been together for like 6, 7, 8 years. It just hasn't been working and nobody can take a step. And they want things to get better. One of the partners says, yes, absolutely, I'll make things better, but never does anything. And they're just stuck in this limbo. And just in order for their spouse to make their spouse feel like this is for real, like I mean business, they'll come and they'll have a session for discernment counseling. I give them a venue where they're not fighting, they're not screaming, but they're able to say all of those pieces that I don't trust you, I can't move on. And then these are just complaints. That doesn't get us anywhere. I'm going to bring them to a place where they're going to be able to tell us exactly what they need. What do you need from your partner in order to start feeling the trust?
And what if the things that they ask for appear unrealistic? Like, for instance, if they've had, years of a bad physical relationship, for example. Well, I need this person to be as, viral and, romantic, and they've never done this. I don't see that they ever will. And this is what I need, and I need it now.
Yeah.
You hear those kinds of statements that this demand where it's going to be not happening so quickly. This could take a couple of years to get there, to have a vulnerable, emotionally, connected relationship.
Right.
And that's what they're needing.
So the good thing about this counseling, generally, Stuart, is that people are they're very frustrated and they want a decision. They're coming to me for a decision. So they don't want anything that's going to take years. 6 months,
Right.
they can agree to a little bit.
Right.
Some people have
Right.
fun with that too. So what happens is that, there is so much upset that goes on and so many negative things here and there that go on that people miss exactly what is it that they want to convey. And people, they listen to things, but they don't really hear the other person. So this kind of, it makes the whole communication so black and white that no one the partners cannot anymore miss what the other person's saying. So if somebody's making unreasonable demands, it comes out in the open in flying colors. I'll never decide for people that, okay, this is unreasonable and obviously this is not going to work. But, if I need to appeal to their, intellect and say that, do you think that this is realistic? And if they say that, no, it's not realistic, then that's their answer right there. That happens all the time. People do come in demanding for magic to happen. And I tell them that there are two things that I say. I say that soft reasons for divorce are all of these things. Even infidelity is a soft reason for divorce unless it is sex addiction. Mm-hmm. So all of these, little arguments.
Did you say soft reason?
Yeah, soft versus hard. Hard is abuse. And even any kind of addiction. Those are difficult to get away from,
Right.
Not impossible, but yes, difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But all of these are soft, workable reasons. If you're willing to work with it, if you're willing to put in the effort, absolutely we can get it. But to put a time limit on it, you have to understand that, this is human behavior. The most important thing that I want people to do when they're working with me is to be genuine. And if your change is not genuine, it's just because somebody's demanding it and that change is happening, then it's useless to even attempt it, because I don't want to work with somebody for this long with this kind of intensity and not have it be a lasting change. And if it's not genuine, it's not going to be lasting.
What percentage of the folks that you see when you do discernment counseling, because, it sounds like if they're asking for discernment counseling, they're really on the edge. So I would think that more people are feeling pessimistic about the relationship than optimistic, or they'd probably be going toward couples counseling as opposed to discernment counseling. What percentage, from what you've seen, actually go to the counseling piece of that 6-month commitment? Is it more people that are doing that, or more people, once you sit them down and really clearly spell out the different needs, because that's really what you're doing, tend to see that maybe it's not going to work?
So, Stuart, I have a vast majority of, I have all varieties.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest referrals I get are from divorce counselors. I get from clergy and other people that are interested in saving marriages, but yes, from divorce counselors too, because people are at such a place where they can't choose, they can't commit, and I never really know where the session is going to go. When I take their intake, sometimes it sounds like they're absolutely ready. They're just coming in to basically inform their spouse. And so when I start getting real with them and they start to see that and hear their partner speak about things, I see them backing off. So I don't know if I can really say a percentage. Most people end up staying together because usually the people who are coming, they are a little ambivalent. There is that subset who's coming in to show his wife or to show her husband that, look, here's more proof that it doesn't work. But I am able to save more marriages this way than any other way that I've tried in the past. So I have more success than not.
That sounds terrific.
Yeah.
It sounds absolutely wonderful because the clarity of it, and because in the beginning phase, especially when people come in, there's so much anger. It could take a number of different sessions to really get to people beginning to talk about what they need, because the first part of it is really, are they willing to make a commitment to really make this work? And if you can structure it and you be basically the one person to really spell out to each other what they're looking for, because those individual sessions, you could then identify that. Do you share those lists when they come back together, or do the people share their own lists?
So yeah, they do keep sharing their own lists. There's something that happens, they're very good with making that list with me. But when it comes time for them to give a summary to their partner, it's said so differently. And it's just such a, as a therapist, Stuart, I'm sure you can appreciate that the dynamic that you see when they're saying that to their partner, it's very telling, very interesting. And it's very, moving, and it does something for the relationship for them to be able to say it to their partner.
Then you summarize it. Do they each walk away with something with these summaries?
So they do. They don't really take the summaries with them. But basically, the best part about the summary is, Stuart, that when I'm done with my sessions, I already have a treatment plan, and of course, they know what it is. They've taken part of it, and it's all measurable. So that's wonderful, a thing. But I don't give them summaries because I always warn them that, once again, this is not therapy. So between the discernment counseling sessions, you should not expect any change. At the moment, you're only deciding whether you want to work on your marriage or not, looking at what it entails to work at your marriage and whether you want to do the tasks that are required or not. It's not to fix problems just as yet. Just to figure out whether you feel that your problems are fixable or not, and whether you want to fix them or not.
I guess for me, the only part of this that I have a question about, I think, is what I know is that unless they have some new experiences with one another, and this is more from a treatment model, they're not going to see their partner, and the interpretations that they make about their partner is always so negative. So that if they're not really doing any work in between these sessions, their pain is still where it is. Their feelings about the person stay the same because there's really no work being done on the relationship as of yet.
Yeah.
How do you help people change a perspective? Or maybe we're starting with not even wanting to do that. It sounds a bit like that's where you're at.
So basically, Stuart, these people are not like your regular couples counseling people. If they were, then they would actually be going into couples counseling.
Okay,
they're at a very,
that's fair.
Yeah, they're at a very end stage, and having the conversations that they have in the office, and what they do in the middle is that they go back and they think about it. They are basically assessing the value that they have for their spouse. And they're assessing, what is it that I want? They sometimes don't know what they want really. And that's an important question for them. What is it that, my partner wants? Sometimes these people who have been fighting for years and years are hearing their partner for the first time really, which is very unfortunate. But one of the things that I want to say about discernment counseling is that it leads to winners all around. It provides closure to each partner in case the couple decides not to stay together. And I always say that you can divorce your partner, but you can't divorce yourself. So if you spent so much emotional energy and so much of your life and your time and exhausted all of your mental faculties and all your resources to make a relationship work that didn't work, it behooves you to find out precisely what went wrong so that you don't repeat that in the next relationship, because, incident of divorce is higher in second marriages than in first.
Mm-hmm. So it's really also, and I've been hearing that, and we're almost out of time for today, so I want to sort of summarize what we're talking about. What we're talking about is really taking a really fresh look at why your relationship is where it's at, to be able to really help communicate to your partner what you need from them in order for this relationship to continue, if there's anything, and also some self-discovery. And that's the key here that I think you're talking about now, is you really get to know yourself so much better about what you needed from a relationship, and can you get that here? And if you can't get it here, is it realistic to get it down the road in your future? And if that's the case, it is so critical that people have relationships that are productive, because what we know is that unless you have a relationship where you feel close and important, your whole life really can look very bleak. And when you have that really loving relationship, it can look so exciting.
Absolutely, Stuart. You're absolutely right. It can change everything.
So I want to just thank you so very much for coming on and sharing of yourself. And before we stop, I want you to, and it will be in my show notes as well, but I want people to know that if they want more information, how they can get hold of you, a little bit about what your website and, some of the things that you do offer.
So my website is www.counselingwithadifference.com. People often misspell counseling, which is unfortunate. They can also Google my name and find me. But I do offer discreet counseling for high public profile individuals so that they can also receive professional help with being safe. I offer, of course, couples counseling and premarital services and rekindling packages because I want to do preventive work. But one of the things that I'm trying to do in my practice is that I have two partners who I have a healing model that I've come up with that I use to provide deep healing, as we were speaking about. And I want them to use it. So if I'm doing couples counseling and each of the couple do not have an individual counselor already, so I put them in with my partners, or if their children need counseling, so that the whole family can use the same model and then get to a place of healing faster.
Thank you again, and thank you all of you for joining us again this week, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Stuart.